We are live. Let me make sure we're live everywhere we're supposed to be live. Let's give ourselves, we'll put on this much time here today. And let's mute this, go live on here. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great start to your Friday. Let me just make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be. We are live on LinkedIn. Good morning. Facebook, we are good. Rumble and X, we are good. YouTube, we're good for now. YouTube's been acting funny for the last 3 weeks. TikTok, good morning. Clay, good morning over there. Tell me where you are checking in from. Good morning, everybody over there on Instagram as well. Started a little bit later than usual here today. I usually start at 8 o'clock or just after 8 o'clock. We started about 20-ish minutes late here today. Had a sick child last night who woke up in the middle of the night and vomited in the bed. So last night, my son vomited literally in the bed. So we got, let me see, we got over on TikTok. Nikki, good morning. Yeah, I'm telling you why we started late here today. I'm usually not late. Late is not a thing that I do. We don't do colored people time over here. Connecticut's in the house. Ohio, Missouri's in the house. Arkansas is in the house. All right, shout out to the flyover states. All right, Carla, good morning to you. But as I was telling you, I had a sick child last night. He woke up in the middle of the night. He was having trouble falling asleep. And then around 12-ish a.m., he was still rustling and making noise. And mommy was dealing with him. And then he sat up and he was saying something was wrong. And mommy tried to put him on a potty. Thought maybe he needed to poop. He didn't need to poop, but he did need to get something out of his body. He just didn't let it out through that end. He let it out through the other end. So he vomited in the bed last night. It was some seafood that he had been fed for dinner. So maybe that was it. He vomited all of his dinner. And this is it was like 1:15 a.m. So all the food got vomited into the middle of the bed. So we had to take him out of the bed, of course. I took him into the bathroom and bathed him while mommy had to change the sheets and change the bed and all that stuff. Then we got back in bed. And I usually wake up about 3:45 a.m. So I didn't really get back to sleep. So the sleep was not great last night. I'm not telling you all that as that's not the reason why we're starting this live late, actually, because I pretty much caught up. By the time the morning started, I got up at the usual time. Actually, probably about 15, 20 minutes later than I would. But then once I got the morning started, I kind of got back on track. Got to the gym maybe about 15 minutes later than I usually would. So that got pushed back, got dressed and all that. And then what I was actually doing was this morning, I just thought of something. And whenever I think of a good idea, something that needs to be written down, I actually write it out and flesh out what I want to say. And then I save it in Google Docs. So later on, I can finish it as an article. So what happened was actually I just came up with a couple ideas for articles and I was writing those out. That's really the only reason that we started late. But I did have a sick child last night, and there's some sheets that, any of you like to wash sheets, there's some sheets that are full of baby vomit of seafood. That any of you want to clean those up, then there's a job available for you. But mommy will probably take care of that. So anyway, all of that out of the way. The topic here today is the idolization of celebrities. This is something that I touched on a couple days ago, and I told you I was going to talk about it here today and while we're talking about it. And by the way, I am going to take questions and comments at the end. So any of you who is new around here, you never heard me on one of these lives, I'm going to go through my points, things I want to share. And I got 39 minutes on the clock right now. So here's my trusty timer. So you see we got about 39 minutes. This is how much time I'm giving myself to get through my points. And then I'm going to open up the floor for conversation. And where this came from, let me first tell you all where this came from. This came from Kanye West. All you know who he is, right? Some of you may think that Kanye is crazy. Some people may think that he's trolling. Some people think that he's just who he is. Or some of you may just be completely indifferent to him. I like Kanye West, the artist. I like his music. I don't know him from anywhere else. From his music, I like him. But Kanye has been kind of talking crazy on social media for the last month, generally. And he hops on X, formerly known as Twitter. And he's been saying some wild things. So he's been going against He did this actually a couple of years ago. He was on the Drink Champs podcast with N-O-R-E. I know him as Noriega, but N-O-R-E and what's that other guy's name? DJ EFN down here in Miami. And he was going at the J people. He was saying, I got this issue with J-E-W-I-S people. He kept saying that I-S-H people. He kept saying that over and over again in the episode. And he also said some things about George Floyd in the episode. And then Drink Champs, it was only up for one day. It went viral on that one day. Then they took it down the very next day. And Nori, the host of the show, said he was taking it down because of what got said about George Floyd and about his family was mad or whatever. I call bullshit on that. That is not why they took that episode down. They did not take that down because he was talking about George Floyd. They took that episode down because he was talking about the J people. They got a lot more power than George Floyd's family, whoever that is supposed to be. But anyway, he said, this was years ago. This is probably 2000, who knows, 21, 22, when he did that. And anytime Kanye has popped up in public and he's talking, he has been going at the J people over and over again. He's come back out in the last month and been doing it again. And put out a T-shirt with the NAZI logo on it. I gotta be careful what terms I say here on TikTok. So he's been doing that stuff. He was showing all this stuff, just basically trolling and talking crazy things about the J people, and then talking about other people and dissing rappers and saying all this stuff, all on X. Posting video of porn on X, or corn, excuse me, CORN. PORN. Anyway, doing that on X, and people are like, this dude's going crazy. And he's just been talking crazy for the last month on social media. And people have generally accepted, okay, this is just what he's going to do. So, and he still draws a lot of attention. So there's a lot of people still following him. I follow him just to see what he's going to say. That's entertaining to me. Anyway, what happened is, about 3 or 4 days ago, Kanye made a post saying that, talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce. And what he said was, because he's had some conflict with Jay-Z, is pretty much the conversation has been one-sided. Jay-Z doesn't do a lot of press, doesn't talk too much. But Kanye has been railing against Jay-Z here and then, off and on, for the last couple of years. And Kanye made a post that said, do y'all know that Jay-Z and Beyonce's children are the R word? The R word meaning they have a mental development issue. Because Jay-Z and Beyonce, the last I checked, the last I heard, they had 3 kids. They had the one kid who's the older kid. That's the one that she goes on stage and performs with Beyonce, and people are treating this girl. She's some superstar artist, which the jury is still out on that. That girl, that's the youngest one. And then they have twins, 2 other kids that are younger than twins. I don't even know what those kids look like, never even seen them. So those 2 kids, Kanye purported that these kids are mentally undeveloped. And he used the R word that I cannot use on TikTok because I've used it before and they kicked me off when I use this word. So he said that in the post, and then he deleted the post. And I didn't see it when he did it because I don't follow the up-to-dates on any of this stuff. But I saw it the next day because so many people were talking about it. I didn't even see the post, but so many people were talking about it. And I'm like, all right, well, what did he say? Because people are like, well, you said something that you can't take back in this terrible XYZ. And I'm like, what did he say? So then I went and found the post, and it was that post. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people, specifically black people, because this topic here today, I find this much more prevalent in the black community than any other community. Maybe it is prevalent in others. I don't know, because I'm not as plugged into other communities, but I find this a lot in the black community, is this idolization of celebrities or public figures or whatever you want to label these folks. I saw a lot of black people just getting up in arms that next morning. I don't know, this is, what's today? Today's Friday. This is maybe like Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. I saw a lot of black people getting up in arms towards Kanye and saying, well, Kanye has crossed the line and he did something that he shouldn't do, and this is the ultimate terrible thing to say, etc., etc. And my response to it was, wait a minute, this dude's been talking crazy about everyone and everything. He's been talking about his wife and how she's raising the kids and how he doesn't have access to the kids. He's been talking about Jay-Z every now and then. He's talked about Beyonce off and on. He's talked about a whole bunch of rappers. He's talked about the J people. He's talked about a whole bunch of people. He's talked about other artists. He's been talking about people crazy and posting PORN and doing all these things for about a month straight on social media. Now, all of a sudden, it's a tragedy because he mentioned Jay-Z and Beyonce. And people said, well, it's because he mentioned their kids. Oh, yeah, okay. What do you know about Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids? Nothing. Most people don't know anything about their kids. You know that they have kids, but you don't know anything about their kids. And you posting on social media is not protecting the kids. It is not defending the honor of the kids. It has nothing to do with the kids. The reason why people got so excited and so upset, and upset is a form of excitement, over what Kanye posted is because it was about Jay-Z and Beyonce. And the point that I'm making here today, the through line of this, is that people only got this excited because of their idolization of Jay-Z and Beyonce. It had nothing to do with the kids. Who the hell, what the hell are you going to do for their kids? Or what's posting on social media going to do for their kids? Nothing. You're doing it because of your idolization of the people who you know, which is Jay-Z and Beyonce. And listen, I'm a fan of Jay-Z and Beyonce. I think Jay-Z is the best rapper as far as in my lifetime, what I've consumed. I think Jay-Z is the best rapper. And I still listen to Jay-Z's music to this day. Not that big of a fan of Beyonce, but I do like some Beyonce songs. I remember seeing the Jay-Z Beyonce concert This is one of the last concerts. I don't go to many concerts, but I went to one of their concerts maybe about 10 years ago when they were in Miami. They did a tour together, and I didn't know much of Beyonce's music. Most of the songs she was performing, I didn't even know the music. But I did say she is a hell of a performer. Her on-stage performance was immaculate compared to Jay-Z's, which was pretty, rudimentary. Anyway, all that said, I'm not against Jay-Z and Beyonce, but I'm also not an idolater of any of these folks, and I want to suggest to all of you that you not be that either. And again, it has nothing to do with the kids. People use the kids as a pretext of, well, we're defending kids. You can't defend kids through social media. Okay, you can't defend somebody else's kids with a social media post. Let's get further into this. A celebrity, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, I'm going to take questions and comments at the end. A celebrity is a brand, not a person. So your favorite celebrity, Beyonce, Jay-Z, we'll use them as a frame here today, or you could even say Kanye West, or you could say a politician like Barack Obama or Michelle Obama or whoever you like, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, whoever. Who's another celebrity we can use here as an example? LeBron James, or any of these folks, Patrick Mahomes, whatever. They are brands. They are not people. And what do I mean by that? Yes, is LeBron James an actual human being? I think so. I've seen LeBron in person. I'm pretty sure he's a person. And I'm pretty sure Jay-Z and Beyonce are actual people. I'm sure Barack Obama is an actual human. I'm not saying that they are AI generated. What I'm saying is when someone is a celebrity, there is a front that they put on when they're putting themselves out and they know that the cameras are on. There's a certain way they present themselves for the cameras because they know that the camera is there. And they understand that in order to maintain my status as a celebrity, and to continue to bolster my status as a celebrity, there's a certain way I need to present myself in front of the camera so that I can keep up the image that my fans have of me. And this is not a negative thing. I'm not saying this as a bad thing for the celebrity. They do this because if I can maintain the image that my fans have of me, that means my fans will keep buying what I'm selling. Whether that is their music, whether it is your political stance, whether it's watching me play basketball, whether it's just defending me on social media, all of that is what a celebrity has to do. That's part of the job. Part of the job is that you have to perform for the camera. And again, when I say perform for the camera, I don't mean that they are necessarily being fake. What I mean is there's a certain way that they know the audience is expecting them to be, and they have to be that person. I heard a month or so ago, I was talking about Puff Daddy, aka P. Diddy, and his court situation. I believe his trial is set to start in about a month. And one of the things that I heard, there was this R&B group called 112. Y'all remember that group, 112? That was with Bad Boy and Puff Daddy back in the 90s. So anyway, one of the guys from that group, it was 4 black guys who were singers. I believe they were from Atlanta. And one of the guys from that group, because I was reading this article years ago about, they were just talking about how the Bad Boy Empire, that was Puff's company, that was very popular. And 112, one of the singers from the group was saying that Puff used to always tell us that you always have to be on. That was his thing. He said Puff would train us that we always got to be on. He said if you're going to the grocery store or you're just going outside to the mailbox, you never know who might see you. You never know, somebody might be there with a camera. You need to project the image of what you want people to believe about you, because that's going to help them become a bigger fan, to stay a fan, and to buy your music. And he was 100% correct. And you look at someone like Puff Daddy or P. Diddy. I call him Puff Daddy. When I came to know him, he was known as Puff Daddy. And that's one of the things that if you are old enough to remember, back in their heyday when he was the guy, every time you seen him, he was representing his image. He would have sunglasses on. Even if he was in a dark room, he had sunglasses on. He always had some jewelry on. You would see him holding bottles of champagne. He'd be always looking like he was having a good time. He was the center of attention, and all the girls liked him, and all the men wanted to be him. He was projecting an image. That's what I mean when I say be a celebrity. Not every celebrity projects the same image. Thank you for that gift over there, Laurel Martin, and everybody who's giving the gifts on TikTok. Every celebrity is projecting a certain image, and the image doesn't have to be the same. Like Barack Obama has an image. There's an image to him. Now, he's not doing the same thing that Puff Daddy's doing. I've never seen him holding a bottle of champagne or wearing sunglasses inside or wearing jewelry. I've never seen him doing any of that. But there is an image behind Barack Obama. There's an image behind Beyonce. There's an image behind Jay-Z. There's an image behind LeBron James. These people all have a certain image that they put out there. And what's happened since social media has come about is now a lot of them are trying to show you that, yes, I do have this image, but I'm also human. That's part of the show as well. You understand? That's part of the show. So when Beyonce does those, she did like a documentary. Years ago, she did one. I think they did another one lately. I didn't see it. But like a documentary that's kind of like more home video footage-ish. And she's kind of showing her personal side. And she's getting on camera and talking to the camera without any makeup on and talking about how she feels. And I go through this and I need to go talk to my husband. I need to be comforted. All of that's still part of the image. All right, just because they took the makeup off and they don't have on the shiny clothes and they're trying to be more personal, that is still part of the brand. And mind you don't have to be some famous person to have a brand. I have a brand as well. All right, there's a reason why when I get on these live streams, I'm dressed the way that I'm dressed. This is part of the brand. It's part of the brand that when people see me, I want them to get a certain image of the way that I'm projecting myself. And some of you have a brand as well. If you're thinking about it, you should be thinking about it if you have one or you want to have one. So the whole point here is that celebrities are putting themselves out there in a certain way because they want you to see a certain thing, and the things that they don't want you to see, they don't show you. Things they don't want you to see are the things that happen when the cameras turn off. And that's their everyday life, who they really are as a person. And the challenge is that a lot of people, and again, especially black folks in our society, tend to fall in love with the brand image of these people when that's not who they truly are. And it doesn't matter how much they use the camera. Let's see what social media has done has given people is allowed you to project the image that you're showing people everything about your life. And no, you're not. Nobody shows everybody everything about their life. Because there's plenty of things in every human being on this planet. There are things in your life that you don't want on camera and you will never have on camera. And that includes Jay-Z, Beyonce, Puff Daddy, Drake, Justin Bieber, anybody else you want to name. They don't want everything on camera. And they make sure that the stuff that they don't want on camera doesn't go on camera. And if it happens to get on camera, they get rid of it. So they're showing you, a celebrity is showing you a curated personality that is carefully managed and presented. All right, that's how it works. Look at somebody like, let's look at Beyonce, since we're using her as an example. Have you ever seen Beyonce angry? You ever seen Beyonce angry? Like, I'm not talking about acting on it. I think she did some acting. I don't mean acting. Like, really, like, seriously angry. You ever see Beyonce angry? You ever see Beyonce cuss somebody out? You ever see Beyonce kind of put somebody in their place verbally? You ever seen her do it? No, you never seen her do it. Now, Beyonce's over the age of 40. Let me ask a question. Do you think she's ever done it? You think she ever cussed out her husband, Jay-Z? Yes. You think she yells at her kids every now and then? Yes. Do you think she gets pissed off at people? Yes. All of these things happen. Remember that whole elevator situation when Beyonce's sister was trying to beat up Jay-Z in the elevator? All right. What was Beyonce doing while her sister was trying to beat up her husband? What was Beyonce doing? Y'all remember that video when, what's Beyonce's sister name? Solange was trying to beat up Jay-Z in the elevator. What was Beyonce doing while her sister was trying to beat up her husband in this little elevator? What was she doing? She wasn't doing anything. She was just sitting there. She was just standing there with a blank face, pretty much doing nothing. She wasn't saying anything. She wasn't getting in the middle of it. She wasn't doing anything. She was just standing there watching her sister try to beat up her husband. And then when they got out of the elevator, because when they got out the elevator, that's when the cameras was on. So the elevator, the security footage, I don't know if Beyonce was aware of the camera there, but when they got out the elevator, it was a bunch of people. So y'all remember that video. When they got out the elevator, they had to walk through this throng of cameras and media, and then they had to walk to the car. So on that little walk, if you look at Solange, Beyonce's sister, she looks kind of mad. As she just tried to beat up Jay-Z. Jay-Z looks normal like Jay-Z. He had a straight face. Beyonce had like a little bit of a smile on her face as if this was all normal and nothing had even happened in the elevator. That's a curated image. That's my point. I would bet that when they got in that car and or when they got to the house, Beyonce had some things to say either to her sister or to her husband or to both. But see, they didn't put that part on camera. I'm giving you that as an example to help you all understand. They are putting themselves out there a certain way for a certain reason. And this is not a knock on Beyonce. This works for Beyonce. The reason I asked you, have you ever seen her angry? You ever seen her cuss somebody out? You ever seen her put somebody in their place? No, you never seen her do it. I guarantee you she does it, but she doesn't do it on camera because that's not part of her image. That's not her image. Now, there are other musicians who are in the same lane as Beyonce. They do it all the time, and they do it on camera because they want you to see it, because they're okay with that. Right? But that's not her brand. The point is they are deciding what they want you to see and deciding what they don't want you to see. And some people are more conscious of it than others. And Beyonce is extremely conscious of it. So she's a good example. Next, just because someone is famous does not mean that they are wise, moral, or someone whose behavior you should copy. And this is a very important point. Because you take someone like the bald-headed guy who's a kickboxer who lives in Romania. He's in the United States right now, and there's a bunch of alleged cases that are supposed to be against him soon. You know who I'm talking about, right? Guy, Mr. AT. And he has a brother, and this was RTT, that guy. So when he got a whole bunch of attention over the last couple of years, especially over the last month or two, because he came to the United States, a bunch of people were saying, hey, you should not look up to this guy or listen to this guy or look at this guy as a role model for men or young men because all these negative things about him. Just because he has a bunch of followers, because last I looked, he had like 10 million followers on X alone. And I don't think he's even on any other social media because he's banned from all of them. I can't even say his name on TikTok because they will give me a strike if I do. I've already gotten one for saying this guy's name. Literally for saying his name in a post, I got a strike. But anyway, he's banned off everything else. He has 10 million followers on X. And people will say, well, just because he's famous, Just because he's known and he has some level of accomplishment, whatever you want to believe, does not mean he's wise. It doesn't mean he is morally upstanding, and it doesn't mean you should copy his behavior. And people say that about him, and that's fine if you want to say it about him. The thing is, that applies to every single famous person you've ever heard of. It applies to all of them. It applies to him the same way it applies to Barack Obama, LeBron James, Jay-Z, and Beyonce. It applies, and Taylor Swift, and everybody else you want to know. It applies to all of them equally. None of them is more of any of these things just because they are known. Now, how wise is Beyonce? Now, how smart is she? We don't know. You don't know. You ever had a personal conversation with her without a camera? Okay, no. So you don't know how smart she is. Is she moral? We don't know. Is she someone whose behavior you should copy? What behavior? All right, the fact that when she's on camera, she looks a certain way. Well, okay, you can copy that if you want to. What about her behavior off camera? You don't know what it is because you've never seen her off camera. And that's my point. And when people fall in love with celebrities, they're falling in love with the image, but you don't know the real behind who that person actually is. And again, any celebrity who is smart, they keep it that way. They don't want you to know. They want you to see the image because the image is what you buy. What you're buying is the image. So you look at someone like, for example, Puff Daddy. And he's been one of my favorite entertainers. He created, any of you been to the club and they have bottle service? You know, even if you don't go to the club, you ever see a video of somebody in the club and they order a bottle, and you know they ordered a bottle because what you see is all the girls who work at the club, they're walking around with the bottles, and they have the sparklers coming out of the bottles, and it's like this big thing, and they make a path, and everybody gets out the way, and everybody's looking at the girls walking with the bottles and has sparklers in it, and then they bring it over to the table, and these people who are allegedly somebody sitting in VIP with the table, they get the bottles. You know why that exists? Is because of Puff Daddy. He created that. So back in the, back in the 90s, before they did that, they created that image around like 1996, 97. But before that, nightclubs still existed, partying still existed. There was a VIP section back then, but there was no such thing as you ordering a bottle of alcohol to be in the club. There was no such thing as if you want a table at the nightclub, you have to order and purchase a certain number of bottles ahead of time in order to have a table in the VIP section. That was not a thing. It's a thing now because Puff Daddy created that. The point of me bringing that up is to say they created an image, because if you remember Bad Boy, Puff Daddy, Notorious B.I.G., Mace, all those guys back in the day, their whole image was we're the shiny guys and the shiny suits and the nice cars, and we got all this money, and we like partying and we like girls, and all y'all want to be us because we party and like girls, and we party and the girls like us, and we got all these nice clothes. Instead of being the gangster thug street guy that most rappers were rapping about at that time, they said we're going to go the opposite direction. The point being, they created an image that a lot of people wanted to emulate. And again, they were creating an image. It was an image that you fell in love with, and they were extremely popular because that image was very popular. You understand? Now, a lot of people wanted to go in that direction. Not everybody wanted to be the street thug guy. They said, okay, there's a way we can be popular, but we don't have to be a tough guy or pull out weapons and hurt people and do violence. We can be popular this way. And they did it because it worked for them. All right, so, hey, son. All right, so my son is up. You want to come in here? Or he changed his mind. So, just because someone's famous does not mean they're wise, moral, someone whose behavior you should copy. And this is easy to put this frame on someone who you already don't like. See, it's easy to put this frame on someone like Mr. AT because a lot of people have some negative things to say about him already. And there's all this material that people say, well, this proves, quote unquote, proves that he's a bad person, et cetera, criminal, et cetera, et cetera. Easy to put it on him. It's harder to put it on somebody you like. It's harder to put this frame on LeBron James or Jay-Z or Beyonce if you like LeBron, Jay-Z, or Beyonce, or Oprah Winfrey or Barack Obama or whoever you like. You got to put it on all of them. And do not put more time, while we're on the subject, don't put more time into following a celebrity than you put on yourself. I talked about this in my book, Work on Your Game. You can see that book right over my shoulder here. One of the things that I talked about in that book is you can't be a bigger fan of Steph Curry than you are of yourself. I used to say this to athletes all the time because my first step into putting stuff out on the internet was from 2005 to 2015. I would put out a lot of basketball related content, just showing basketball players how to get better and advance in their careers. And it came to my attention. I came to understand once I started talking more about the mindset aspect of sports as well as the playing aspect, that a lot of players just didn't believe in themselves. They didn't have confidence. And one reason they didn't have confidence is because they hadn't done the work. Another reason they didn't have confidence is because they simply looked up to these players more than they believed in these other players more than they believed in themselves. So back in that era, we're talking the Kobe Bryants, the Derrick Rose, Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, that the players who were coming to me, and mind you, these are not professional players. These are young men who are trying to get better. So we're talking like 13 to 18 age players. And a lot of them just seem to believe in those other guys more than they believe in themselves. And I said, you can't go anywhere with that mentality. That's not going to work. If you want to go somewhere, you want to make your high school team, let alone you want to play in college, let alone you want to make the pros, you cannot believe in Derrick Rose or Kyrie Irving or Stephen Curry more than you believe in you. And you can like them. I like those players. I would watch them and take something. Oh, that's a nice move Derrick Rose did. Let me see if I can add that to my skill set. I can borrow things from them, like them, maybe cheer for the team that they play for. I'm not really into that, but let's just say that I did. You can do all that. You can like Kobe Bryant and think he's better than whoever you want to compare him to. You can do all that. However, you can't put more energy into them than you are putting into you for a couple reasons. Number one, a human being can only focus on one thing at a time. So who are you the biggest fan of? Who do you give most of your support to? If you give more of your support to Kobe than you're giving to you, then your results should not be a mystery to you. And I'll tell that to all of you who are listening to this right now. And you can swap out Kobe for whoever you like, whoever you're a fan of, whoever you follow on the internet, whoever show you listen to, whoever's email list you're on, whatever celebrity you like. If you're a fan of them more than you're a fan of you, then you should not be confused as to why your results look like how they look. And I don't even have to know who you are to know how your results look if you're a fan of Beyonce more than you're a fan of you. I know what your results look like. There's no way you're getting the most out of you if you're putting more energy into that person than you are yourself. This is just... Son, I'm in the middle of my stream. You want to come join? No. Okay. He sees me working. He asked me, well, I'll come play with him. He had to wait. Anyway, that's the number one thing. Number two is that celebrity, whoever they are. All right. Again, no matter what you think about them, you think they're a good person, you've been motivated or inspired by something that they've done, they're not putting any resources into you. What are they giving to you? And some people may say, well, that person's famous. I'm not famous. Why would they give resources to me? That's a good question. How'd they become famous? Not by focusing on other people. They became famous by focusing on themselves. That's the point. Kobe is Kobe, not because he was so focused on Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan. I'm sure he looked at them. He said out his own mouth, he looked at them and would borrow stuff from them. But the point of looking at them was to get material for himself. Do you understand the frame? If I was watching Kobe or Derrick Rose or Kyrie Irving, it was so I could borrow something from them that I could use for me. The point of watching them was for me, not just to support them. And I see this a lot of times on social media, especially you take someone like LeBron, who's a common topic these days because of the whole situation with his son and getting his son into the NBA, et cetera, et cetera. And I've been critical of that situation. And people will say, and there's often black people who will say something like, is nothing wrong with supporting a black man who's a father of his kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, on the surface, there is nothing wrong with it. The problem is many black folks put a lot more of your resources into, quote unquote, supporting a person who doesn't even know that you exist than you are putting into supporting your own situation. And that's the reason why they are famous and you are nobody. Because you're focusing on them. They ain't focusing on you. So this is an uneven exchange as far as I'm concerned. Why would I put my focus into somebody who's not putting any focus into me? If you ain't putting focus into me, I'm not focusing on you. I will use you, but I'm not focused on you. All right. Every topic that I talk about here, I'm often talking about a person. Right? I've talked about Trump. We talked about Elon Musk. I talked about the Mr. AT, the bald-headed guy who kicked off all social media. I'm talking about LeBron. I'm talking about Barack Obama. We talk about Jay-Z and Beyonce, Kanye West. I'm talking about all these people, but I'm using them. I'm not focused on them. I'm using them. I'm using them as a frame to showcase myself and the way that I look at things. Do y'all understand? So I use current events, but I am not focused on current events. There's a difference. And a lot of people in our society get so focused on these things, they never put the focus in themselves. And again, that's the reason why your results look like what they do. And as I just said, to go along with that, don't know more about your favorite celebrity and their goals than you know about your own. I saw this a lot with LeBron, the whole LeBron situation with his son. They said, well, his son is averaging this many points in the G League, and he's a black man taking care of his kids. I'm like, what are you doing? How many points are you averaging in the G League? Again, what are you focused on? You focus on them, you focus on you, and who's putting attention into you if you're putting your attention into them? That's two people focused on them and you, and nobody focused on you. That's a problem. Now, that's bad math. And the reason why and I'm not even saying this as this is going to change all of society, because that's never going to change all of society, because what I'm reflecting here to you all is human nature. Human nature is people tend to gather their attention around a central figure, that person who makes himself into a celebrity, and the celebrity is able to get the resources of all of those people all focused on them. That's what makes a celebrity a celebrity. What I'm suggesting to all of you is not that we're going to change human nature and nobody's going to do this anymore, because if everybody thought the way that I'm thinking, there would be no celebrities. I'm sharing this with you, hoping that maybe some of you understand this, and you can choose to go the opposite route of how most people go. The masses of people are going to be the masses of people. They're not going to change. They're not trying to change. And they don't want to hear the kind of things that I'm talking about right now. But if you're listening to this, then you're maybe a person who can choose to go a different route. But must be a conscious choice. Because if you leave it to society to shape and form your thinking, then you're just going to follow along to the celebrity, because that's what everybody else is doing. You understand? This is the reason why most people follow celebrities, because society tells you to follow the celebrity. This is the person you got to put all your hopes on, and don't focus on yourself, just focus on them. Remember that person, as I said, are not invested in your success. So why would you invest in theirs? I will use you, Jay-Z, for something to help me, but I'm not focused on you being successful. I don't care what are you doing, fathering your kids, and that's another thing in the black community. I may do a whole live on this, maybe, if I can flesh out enough material as I think about it. People say, well, he's a black man taking care of his kids. So what are you supposed to do? Why do people use that as a talking point? A black man taking care of his kids, like this is something like, is that a surprise? That's what you're supposed to do. You have kids, you're supposed to take care of them. All right. Any of you don't remember the Chris Rock skit from like 30 years ago where he's talking about, I love black people, but I hate N-words? Go look it up on YouTube. And he has some funny things to say about all these things that black people often say as if it's some kind of like, what you want, a trophy? Because you take care of LeBron's taking care of his kids. So a bunch of people take care of their kids. I don't see you defending them on social media. Anyway. Your real life mentors, folks, need to be people who you can observe and follow in real life. That's who your real life mentors need to be. Your real life mentors need to be people who you can observe and follow in real life. And you can see what they're really doing in their real lives with no cameras around. Those are the people you should be mentored by. I'm not saying you cannot get benefits and you cannot glean things from celebrities. I've done several episodes on my show. I got a show called Work on Your Game, comes out every day on all the podcasting apps, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc., where I've talked about people who I call virtual mentors. And I told you exactly what are the things that I glean from these people and why. And some of them are in the entertainment space, some in the athletic space, and I glean things from these people. And these are people who I never met and don't know. Famous people that you would know. But I use them as virtual mentors. But my first mentors are the same people who should be, if they're doing their job, your first mentors, which is your parents, your mother and father. Your biological mother and father, or whoever raised you. All right, those are the first mentors everybody should have. And any of you who has kids, you and your partner with whom you made that kid, y'all should be the first mentors to those children. That's where a person should be learning their standards, their principles, their baselines from that. And then on top of that baseline, on top of that foundation, now you can build whatever you want to build by going this direction, that direction, and that direction. So my first mentors were my parents, my mother and father. From there, I had that solid foundation. And on top of that, I built the other things. So my parents are not athletes, nor were they full-time entrepreneurs. So what I did was, again, when I decided to go into the athletic space, I couldn't look at them because they weren't athletes. So then I could look at Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and whoever else and build on top of the foundation that came from my parents. And then if I want to go into entrepreneurship, again, couldn't get it from them. So then I built on Robert Kiyosaki and Napoleon Hill and Tim Ferriss and all the thousands of books I read about entrepreneurship and everybody else I learned from back then to this day. But the foundation was always the foundation. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So again, it's not that you can't leverage a celebrity. They're famous. Often there's a solid reason, hopefully with some substance behind why they're famous. Pull out that substance, whatever it happens to be, and use that to build upon what was already there. So when you take someone like the bald-headed guy from Romania, who a lot of people don't like, I have consumed a good amount of his material. And I'll tell you, I like it. Good amount of his material I like. Now, what he was talking about when I came across him was after he got banned about 2.5 years ago. He wasn't talking about dating and all that because I wouldn't have paid attention. That's what he was talking about. He was talking about personal development, self-discipline, taking ownership of your situation, taking care of the women and children in your life, and being a fully accountable man to yourself and being the best version of yourself and squeezing all the juice out of your orange, so to speak. That's what he's been talking about. When I come across this material, that's for the most part what he's talking about. And I agree with that message. Now, some people say you shouldn't build upon him because of he's this, that, and the third. I say a man or a young man who already has a solid foundation of two parents at home can listen to the things that he's saying and pick out the pieces that are useful for you and discard the pieces that are not, which is what I just explained to you. The stuff that he was explaining about dating, I never even heard, because if I heard of him and they said, well, he's just talking about dating, I would never even looked him up, because I don't want his information on dating. I don't want anybody's information on dating. That's why I don't watch dating content. But when he was talking about mindset and personal growth and personal development, I'm into that stuff 1,000%. Not only do I produce it, I consume it. So if someone else is giving it and it's useful, I'm going to listen to it, and I could build on that because I already had my own foundation. So I could pick and choose. So the metaphor we use here is eat the meat and spit out the bones. And all of you should be able to do that with anyone. Eat the meat and spit out the bones. What that means is when you come across another person, you don't need to agree wholeheartedly with every single thing that they say for you to follow them. I may say something. Some of you listen to this and you may have agreed with every single thing you ever heard me say so far. But there may come a day in the future where I say something that you disagree with. That doesn't mean you should say, well, all right, I'm not listening to Dre anymore because I listened to him 30 times and I liked it. But then he said something one time I didn't like, so now I'm never listening to him again. All right, that's foolish. Because if you allow anybody to put themselves out there often enough, eventually they're going to say something that you're not feeling. Doesn't mean you should just stop listening to them. All right, that guy, Mr. AT, he says some stuff that I generally do not agree with. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop listening to him. Okay, I don't agree with that part, but all these other parts I like. So I'm going to take the parts that work for me and I'm going to leave out the parts that don't. All of you should be able to do that. And the way that you get to the point of being able to do that is when you have a solid foundation from the beginning. I.e., most of you, I would guess, are old enough to be parents of people. Most of you are not kids. You're not living under somebody else's roof. All of you who are parents, you need to be that foundation. That's your job as a parent. If you set that foundation for your kids, when they leave the house and they go off to school, or I say to go to college, or even when they leave the house on a day-to-day basis, they could be 12 years old. When they leave the house on a day-to-day basis, you understand you can't protect them from everything. Now, they're going to have classmates or friends or situations where they have an option of doing the wrong thing, something that they may even know is the wrong thing, or they may later find out is the wrong thing, and you're not there to tell them don't do that or tell them what they can and can't do. Right? They're going to have to decide for themselves. Now, how do they decide for themselves? Well, if you as a parent have done a good enough job at home, then they will make the right decision when they're not at home. That's why you need to be the first role model. Now, if you're not the role model and your kids just go out into the world and they don't have a foundation, well, their foundation is going to be whatever they come across. And that way they get shaped by their environment. And if they're in the wrong type of environment or they got the wrong friends, oops, y'all know where that goes. That's why parents are the foundation. And that's why someone like myself, I'll even tell you, to this day, I still listen to a lot of gangster rap music. I was just listening to, just this morning, I was just listening to 50 Cent. Now, is 50 Cent's message something that you should build upon? Should you model your life after what 50 Cent raps about? No, because if you do what most gangster rappers, if you go do what most gangster rappers rap about, you're going to end up deceased, incarcerated, or both at some point. That's usually what ends up happening. If you do what 50 Cent raps about, you're probably going to end up in a box. Either a coffin or a jail cell. You do what Jay-Z raps about, same thing. Most gangster rappers, and I like listening to gangster rap. Now, how am I able to listen to gangster rap to this very day and not end up in a box? The reason is because I had two parents at home. I had a solid foundation, so I can listen to 50 and I can get energy from the music, but I don't listen to what he says and think that that's a prescription for what I'm supposed to go do. Now, again, what if I didn't have two parents at home and I listened to 50 Cent? Then I might think I need to go do it because he's famous, he's popular. He seems to have all the stuff that I want. Okay, I guess I might as well go do what he does. I don't have any other alternative. And this is why it comes down to parents, even when we talk about celebrities. So again, your mentors, the people you actually learn from, your foundational mentors, need to be people you know in real life. Then you branch out to other people who you can pick and choose from. You can pick and choose from your parents as well, but your parents should give you a solid enough foundation. All right, next. As Kanye has demonstrated, all right, the opinions of celebrities are often assigned to them based on who is supporting them. And this is what a lot of you don't understand about a lot of celebrities. And this applies to politicians the same way it applies to athletes and entertainers. Their opinions are based on who's paying them and what they can and can't say to not piss off the wrong person. For example, I mentioned Kyrie Irving a few minutes ago. I don't know if you follow sports, you remember this, but during the virus time, Kyrie Irving announced publicly that he was not going to take the jab. And at this time, he was playing in Brooklyn for the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the law in the city of New York at the time was if you have not taken the jab, you cannot work in New York. You can't go to work in New York if you haven't taken the jab. That was the law. So Kyrie Irving, he played for the Brooklyn Nets. He could not play any games. You can't go to work in New York if you're a resident of New York and you haven't taken the jab. That was the law. So he couldn't play in any games for the Brooklyn Nets because he hadn't taken the jab. He could only play in the road games. Now, the Brooklyn Nets, I guess they really wanted to push him to get the jab. So they said, well, if you can't play in the home games, you can't play in the road games either. So you can't play at all. So they just arbitrarily made that decision. Kyrie, you can't play in any of the games at all. And here's the part that I found interesting. Not that they did that. That part was interesting, but it was kind of, okay, we know that's pretty much going to happen. Even though what was funny is the other teams, if you played for the Philadelphia 76ers and you didn't take the jab and you had a game in New York, you could work, you could play. But if you are on the New York team, you couldn't play if you didn't have the jab. But the people on the other teams could play if they didn't have the jab, which makes no logical sense. But a lot of things that happened during that time made no logical sense. We're not going to get into that here today. What I found interesting, here's the interesting part, is that not a single player in the NBA spoke up to defend Kyrie Irving. Nobody. Nobody said anything. Not one player defended him. Now, after a week or two, a couple players somewhat spoke up. Nobody really defended him, not even his own teammates. Nobody said anything. Now, let me give you another example. Shortly after that, Kyrie Irving posted a link to a documentary on Amazon called, I forget what the name of the documentary was, but basically in the documentary, it was a black guy basically saying that the real J people are actually black people. The J people are not white, they're black. That's what the guy was saying in the documentary. Kyrie Irving posted a link to the documentary with no commentary. He just posted a link. And people went crazy over this. They said this is anti-Semitic. He's going against the J people. He's not allowed to do this, etc., etc. He got suspended from the team, suspended from the NBA, and was not allowed to come back until he went through some re-education on the entire situation. He had to sit down with some J people in New York, in Brooklyn, because there's a lot of J people in New York. He had to sit down with them and get some better understanding of how things are and how what he did was hurtful and harmful, etc., to the community. He had to do all of that stuff before he was allowed to come back to play basketball. Now, this one I think was even more egregious because, again, nobody in the NBA defended him. Not one player stepped up to defend him. Not one. Not even his own teammates. And these guys aren't the NBA players over the last several years, let's say the last 15 years. A lot of NBA players have made a lot of noise about, hey, we have our own platforms now. We got social media now. We have our own podcast now. We can control our own narrative. We can speak for ourselves. We're not going to let the media tell us what it is or tell you, the fans, what it is. We will tell you ourselves what it is. We can speak for ourselves. We have player empowerment. Wasn't that the whole thing? Player empowerment. After LeBron came to the Miami Heat, it was all about player empowerment. Players are empowered to do as they wish, and they can do things themselves. They have their own voices. Nobody can tell them what to say and what not to say. So let me ask you a question. Why didn't nobody say anything to defend Kyrie Irving? With the whole thing with the J people, why didn't nobody defend him? It's 450 players in the NBA. Not one of them had anything to say. Can anybody explain that to me? Can anybody explain that? Not one player in the NBA. All of them player empowered. All of them had their own platforms. All of them had their own podcasts, etc., etc. Not one NBA player defended Kyrie Irving during that situation. And I'm going to tell you why. And this comes back to Kanye West. Kanye West has exposed, and not a lot of people want to admit this because it will make you look at your favorite celebrities and athletes and entertainers a little bit differently. Kanye has exposed that when you are a celebrity, often your celebrity status is contingent on you having the right opinions about the right things and shutting up and staying quiet about the wrong things. The reason why no NBA player defended Kyrie Irving when he put that documentary out, he didn't make it, when he put the link out about that documentary talking about black people are the real J people. The reason nobody defended him is because NBA players were told, hey, you support that or support him or say anything wrong about this subject, you're going to get the same thing he got. And none of them wanted to get it, so they all stayed quiet. So this whole thing about player empowerment is this. If you have to tell people you're empowered, you're not. That's what you need to understand about athletes. If you have to announce that you have power, you don't have power. People who actually have power don't have to tell you they got power. I believe it was Margaret Thatcher who said, if you have to, he said, being powerful is like being a woman. Now, if you have to tell people you are, you ain't. Now, that's a good one for these days, as a matter of fact. Wasn't even thinking it that way, but now that I said it, y'all get the point. If you have to tell people you are empowered, so when they did this whole thing in basketball, player empowerment, okay, that means you ain't got no power. Because if you're announcing you have power, you don't. People who got power ain't got to say nothing. All you got to do is look at their actions. And NBA players don't have as much power as they want you to think they do. The thing is, the idolaters of athletes and entertainers look at them as if they have power simply because you need to believe it. Because if you have that challenge, that idea challenge, then there's this cognitive dissonance that you have to deal with. So when I say something like this, a lot of people who idolize athletes and entertainers don't really want to hear it, because what it's going to do is challenge your entire paradigm of how the world works. You think those are the powerful people. No, the powerful people are the people who pay the powerful people. You understand? The most powerful people are the people who pay the people you think are powerful. People with real power write checks, they don't receive them. See, the people who own the Brooklyn Nets, they the ones with the real power. Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and the players who were playing for the Brooklyn Nets, no, they have some power. They got more power maybe than the average person who doesn't make as much money as them, but they don't have the true power. True power, nobody can tell you what to do. You can do or say anything you want, and there's nothing anybody can do to you. See, Kanye West, he been talking crazy on the internet for a month, right? What has anybody done to him? Nobody can do anything to him. Like, that's real power. Now, again, you may not like the way he's using his power. You may feel like he's abusing his power. You may feel like he shouldn't be speaking. You may feel like he has something wrong with him mentally. Maybe you think he should get his phone taken away. He should never see his kids again. And somebody needs to have a talking with him and he needs to go see a therapist. Maybe you believe all of those things and maybe all of them are true. But what he has done over this last month, this is what I've noticed, is that he has actual power, because despite the fact that people think all of those things that I just said about him, and some of them have said it even out loud, none of them can stop him from saying anything because nobody controls him. Again, it doesn't make him right or wrong. What I'm saying is he's not controlled. And that's what Kanye has exposed about the entertainment industry over the last month, especially people in his lane. He's exposed that because none of them could talk like he talks without losing everything they got, which means they don't have any real power. And that's what I want y'all to understand. Most people are not looking at it from that angle, but I look at things from these angles. This is how I know most NBA players, not most, all NBA players have no power. They don't really have power. They got power when they're talking to y'all, because to many of you, they look like they have power because they make a certain amount of money and they have status and they can do things physically that most people can't do. So they can portray power to people who are maybe subordinate to them in some way, shape, or form. But people who really understand power know that these guys are nothing but highly paid employees. And when you're an employee, you got power until the boss walks into the room. That's just how it is. You got power until the person who put you in power walks in the room. Now you don't have power. Now you got to be quiet until the boss asks you to speak. That's how it works. And NBA players are employees. I mean, technically, I guess you can call them contractors, but they're employees. Because you found out, Kyrie Irving, as soon as he went against the grain, he found out how much power he actually had, which is not much. Because all his power is connected to what? His ability to play on that basketball court. So the league said, we're going to take away the one thing that gives you power, and until you do what we tell you to do, you can't have your power back. So how much power does he actually have? See, if anybody can tell you what to do and they can take away the thing that gives you power, you don't actually have it. Nobody can give you power. Power is taken. It's not given. Most of your favorite athletes, entertainers, and celebrities and politicians are controlled. They seem to have power because most people don't understand this. So it looks like they have power. They really don't. Let's use politics as an example. If Barack Obama came out talking how Donald Trump talks, he would lose all his power. Why? Because the reason he talks the way he talks is because people who fund his campaigns, or the ones he was in, who fund his campaigns and keep him prominent, keep him somebody, those people have a certain agenda. And if he follows that agenda, they will keep him in power. If he goes against the grain of that agenda, he loses his power. Again, you want to see an example of this? Look at Kyrie Irving. As long as he followed the agenda, he had power. As soon as he stopped following the agenda, all his power was gone and nobody defended him because they all understood, if you support him, we're going to take your power away too. And again, if somebody can tell you they're going to take your power away, you don't have any. period. The reason why Donald Trump has the power that he has is because his campaigns and his ability to run for office was not financed by other people. I mean, technically he did take donations. The thing is, his donations were, I don't need your money. Whereas Barack Obama's donations were, I need your money, otherwise I can't win. Because where would Barack Obama get money from if he couldn't get it from his donors? He couldn't get any. He didn't have any. Donald Trump already had money. And see, when you already have money, you don't need to take every dollar offered to you. You can say to someone, listen, I want your dollar and I appreciate your dollar, but I don't need your dollar. And if you don't want to give me that dollar because I'm not going to do what you want me to do, cool, you're just going to have to go somewhere else with your money. See, someone who already has money can say that to people who are offering them money. But if you don't have money and somebody dangles a bunch of money in your face and says, okay, I'll give you this money, but you got to do ABC, and you don't even want to do ABC, now you got an existential issue. I either got to do ABC that I don't want to do to get this money, or I got to say no to this money, and now I still don't have any money. Now I got a problem. Donald Trump already had money, so he was able to say no. See, when you have true power, you can say no to anything and everything. Mr. AT, the bald-headed guy, the kickboxer, he told this story that when he started to get really known, they came to him and they offered him a bunch of money. He said, we'll give you all this money. You go to the shows and you'll be famous and you'll be an influencer and be a celebrity and you'll be protected. We won't put any negative stories out about you, but you got to accept this money. And then here are the things you got to do. You got to say yes to this. Here are the topics you can talk about. Here are the things you can't talk about. And here are the things you're currently doing that you got to stop doing in exchange for this money. And he said that he told them no to the money. And then he said they came back to him a little bit later and they made an offer to him. They didn't really make the offer better. They just repackaged the offer and said it to him again. And he said he told them again, no. And then shortly after that, he got kicked off all social media. All the negative stories came out about him. All the quote unquote evidence about him came out and started getting spread by a bunch of social media accounts by anonymous people. And then he got arrested and got taken to jail. Shortly after he said no to that offer. Now, maybe you believe him. Maybe you don't. But given what I've told you up to this point, do you understand what I'm saying? If someone can give you power, you don't have power. And power is taken, not given, right? In all situations. Anybody who's in a position where someone gave them power, that's not real power. It's not real. It may be the image of power, but it's not real power. Somebody gave it to you. And again, if you had to announce it, you ain't got none. The reason Donald Trump is who he is because he has real power, meaning he does not need anything handed to him from someone else with contingencies. If he doesn't like the contingencies, he ain't doing it. That's why he has power. And it's one of the reasons why he got so much support for 3 election cycles and not a single Republican staged a serious challenge to his position. Who was his most serious challenger in all 3 election cycles he's been in? What Republican really challenged him where it looked like they might beat him? Nobody. Nobody came close. One of the reasons nobody came close is because he has true power that is not based on talking points that he has to go along with and things he has to do. And this is the reason why so many Republicans are against him. Trump got not only the Democrats against him, but a whole bunch of Republicans against him. The reason why is because almost every Republican who gets high enough and has enough status to where they could possibly become president, understand something. None of them are most of them are not independently wealthy, which means in order to fund their campaigns, in case any of you didn't know, to win an election in the United States, you need a lot of money. A federal election, you need a whole lot of money. Most of them don't have a whole lot of money. So where do they get their money from? From campaign donations. To get a campaign donation, what I just tell you a couple days ago when I talked about the laws of economics, there is no such thing as a free lunch. If someone gives you money to support you, they want something in exchange for that support, which means, okay, Dre, I will give you this money, but if I'm giving you this money, Dre, I need you to go along with this. These are the things you need to support. These are the things you can no longer support. You got to go in this direction if you want my $300,000 for your campaign. And I'm thinking, I'm doing the math in my mind. I don't want to go along with those things, but if I don't get this $300,000, I cannot win my campaign. So what do? And I don't have anybody else offer me $300,000. What do? You either A, lose your election and go back to what you were doing before, or B, you take the money and now you have to compromise your values for the money. And most of your favorite celebrities, athletes, entertainers, and politicians have compromised their values, their personal principles in exchange for a check. Despite what they tell you. Now, when the cameras come on, they tell you one thing. But when the cameras are off, they know the reality. And again, the more cameras we get these days and the more people expose themselves by putting themselves out there, the more obvious this becomes. So social media was actually a good thing for this because it helped expose people. The Kyrie Irving thing. I like Kyrie Irving. Met Kyrie Irving, played basketball with him, as a matter of fact, when he first came to the NBA. Good guy. Kyrie, and this is not a diss to Kyrie, this is diss to any of you who thinks NBA players have power. They don't, because Kyrie Irving putting that link on social media led to a chain of events that showed you how little power those guys have. They don't actually have any. Their power is granted to them. And as soon as somebody pushes that button, all their power goes away. You saw them do it to Kyrie Irving. They took all his power away as soon as he didn't do what they told him to do. And the only way he got his power back, quote unquote power back, was if he followed the rules. And again, if you have to follow rules to have power, you don't have power. Period. People with true power make rules. They don't follow them. And Kanye, regardless of what you think about him, even if you think he is completely crazy, he has exposed the fact that most of your favorite entertainers do not have any power, because none of them could talk how he's talking and still be standing. He's still standing because he has power that is not connected to the machine. Now, they're going to try to punish him, but there's only so far you can punish somebody who has actual power. Again, they try to punish Donald Trump. Y'all saw that, right? Everybody knows that, right? Did it work? They tried. The only reason that didn't work on him is because he has true power. If he was a normal politician, he never would have done the things that he did that led them to try to punish him in the first place. He wouldn't have been talking the way he was talking if he's a normal politician. If he's a normal politician, he wouldn't have won in 2016, let alone what he had the nomination in 2020, let alone would he have run again in 2024. And he never would have won. He wouldn't have come close. Not talking the way he was talking. No way, because he wouldn't have enough money. Nobody would have donated money to his campaign talking like that. The only reason he was able to do it is because he didn't need them, which meant he can do what he wants. And now you have to come to him. He doesn't have to come to you. And that's a whole different ball game when they got to come to you as opposed to you got to go to them. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? And again, Kanye did this. Most people don't notice that, but Kanye's the one who did it. Your favorite politicians, athletes, and entertainers are connected to a faucet. Y'all know what a faucet is, right? You go to the kitchen, you turn it, and the water comes out. All right, they are all connected to a faucet, and somebody else controls the faucet. All right, that's the problem. All right, somebody else controls the faucet. So if somebody else can turn off your faucet, you don't have freedom. And what I tell you, when I did talk about the laws of economics a couple days ago, freedom is not free. Most people think freedom is free. Freedom is not free. Freedom is expensive. You want to be completely free, you got to give up a whole lot of security. Reason Trump is Trump. He gave up a lot of security for his freedom. And people supported it because even though most people couldn't have explained what he was doing, people could subconsciously understand, oh, this guy is doing what most people would love to do, but most people never get a chance to do. That's why he got so much support. It had nothing to do with his policies. I mean, people, logically, they explain it, but his policy, it wasn't the policy. And the reason why Mr. AT has the followers that he has is because of the fact that he is going against the grain, and he won't stop going against the grain, despite the fact that most people, when they get offered to go against the grain, they stop. Or they get offered to stop going against the grain, they stop because they take the check. Money talks. So what I'm asking all of you to do, or prescribing all of you to do, is audit your use of time and attention. And if you're going to give time and attention to these people, these celebrities, politicians, athletes, entertainers, really look a level deeper, a couple levels deeper from what they're doing and how they got their status, how they got their power, where it comes from. And if you really thought about it, then you'll start to notice these things that I'm pointing out to you. So hopefully it'll be easy for you to think about it now because I'm pointing it out to you, making it obvious. The most value, folks, comes from people who can give you something that will make you a more useful and more valuable person. Now, maybe that person is Jay-Z. Maybe that person is Barack Obama. Maybe that person is Donald Trump. Maybe it is. But your job is to sift through everything that they put out there and ask yourself, what out of this can I use for myself? Where's the meat? Where's the bones? All right, when you eat a piece of steak, you don't eat the bones, you eat the meat. And you throw the steak out. All right, all of you got to do that when you come across a celebrity or a famous person. There is some meat on the bone. Some of them have more meat than others. But you got to pick through it and find the meat that's useful to eat and then throw everything else away. And what you ultimately want to do is become your own version of a celebrity who have people who admire and appreciate you for what you bring to the table. That's the ultimate goal. That's the ultimate goal in all this, is that you become a celebrity in your own world. Doesn't mean you need to be world famous to where you go on a mall and everybody knows you. You can be famous to 20 people and make an impact. You can be famous to 3 people and make an impact. You can be famous to your kids and make an impact. So your job is to become a celebrity in the world in which you operate, so that the people who are getting value from you are becoming a more valuable person simply because of your influence. And again, that could be 2 people, it could be 100, it could be 1,000, it could be 10 million. depending on your what you want to do and where you want to do it at. But you do have to have this as an intention. This is not something that happens. This is not something that happens by happenstance, folks. This is not something that happens by luck. This happens consciously and intentionally. Those are two words that I use often in my world. Those of you who are not familiar with my full-time work. Conscious and intentional are the two words I use all the time. If you're going to make something happen in your life, especially if it involves any level of difficulty, you have to do it on purpose and you have to be consciously trying to do it. It won't happen by happenstance. All that said, let's see what we got here. Comments wise on, okay, I don't see anything over here. YouTube, I think, messed up on us again. Let me check Instagram comments, then we'll go over to our folks on TikTok. Music Freak 8802 checking in from PA. Shout out to Pennsylvania. Belford Williams said, you're not giving yourself enough credit. You're mature and intelligent enough to parse out what's useful and what's not. You can enjoy the entertainment without idolizing them. Yes, correct. Even if you come from a two-parent household, we all sway from our parents during a moment of our lives. Yes, that's correct. And that's right. So, again, you get to decide once you get out of there, but your parents set the foundation. Once I got older, I appreciate what they were instilling in me. Really does it sink in. Okay, you coming back? Really does it sink into your adult and it's time to look after others. Yes.
I'm not coming.
Okay.
I'm leaving.
Okay. The Really CEO said major campaign donation euphemism for a bride. Well, okay, fair enough. I can't argue with that, but they're trying to fight that, some people. The Real said athletes get power back when they retire. Unfortunately, many of them are broke when they retire. Well, maybe. Maybe they get power back. Maybe. Let me think about that a little bit. So let me go over to TikTok, looking at the comments. Let me see. I think I can start at the top here. Let's see what we got. If you got a comment on TikTok, I'm starting at the top. So if I'm not seeing your comment exact moment that you posted, for the most part, I'm just reading through. So when you all post your comments in the future, when you're here, give me context so I know what you're responding to. Amber said, no CP time. Yeah, I don't do CP time. Carla, I appreciate it. Let's see. Cupatino said, most of Kanye's fans are for real religious. You mean followers of him? Well, a lot of celebrities' fans are religious followers. I think that applies to all celebrities. I don't think it's just Kanye. I think it's everybody. Traditional said, I think Kanye is losing it. Yeah, maybe he is. But in the process of losing it, he's exposed something. And that's the reason why I pointed it out. Traditional said, that's true. They idolize entertainers like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was my whole point about Jay-Z and Beyonce. People only got mad about Kanye talking crazy when he talked about Jay-Z and Beyonce. They didn't get mad when he was talking about anybody else. Carla said, I disagree on this. You don't go after or mention other people's kids. Generally, I agree with you. Carla, I agree that you generally don't talk about people's kids. I don't like talking about people's kids if they're under 18. What I'm saying is, whether it's true or not, what got everybody excited was the fact that he mentioned Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids. It wasn't about the kids. That's my theory. It was not about the kids. It was just about the fact that it was Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids. Now, he said something about Donald Trump's kids, and Donald Trump's kids are all over 18, but his son just turned over 18. But he said something about Elon Musk's kids. The same people who got excited about Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids wouldn't have said anything. That's my point. They only said something because of who the parents are. It's not because of the kids, because nobody even knows who those kids are. How old are Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids? They're like 8 years old. Nobody knows anything about those kids. The only reason people got mad is because it was Jay-Z and Beyonce. That's my point. And Carl said, I don't even like Jay-Z or Beyonce. All right, fair enough. Clay, good morning. Congrats on the number 3 badge. Amber, appreciate you. Erica Farrow, thank you for the heart. Twin 2, thank you for the rose. Erica, good to see you here as usual. Laurel says, celebrities are so overrated. Well, that's kind of the definition of being a celebrity. That's the whole point. You get overrated. You get rated and looked at as bigger than you actually are, but that is literally what makes a celebrity a celebrity. So I would suggest to everybody, if you can find a way to have that work in your favor, do it. It doesn't have to be world famous celebrity, but you could be a celebrity in your space. You could be a celebrity dentist, and all the other dentists know who you are. That's the whole thing. Carla says she sent her sister to do it in the elevator. Yeah, but she was standing right there watching. It ain't like she couldn't have jumped in. She was standing right there watching the whole thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Traditional said it right after that. She was standing there watching and didn't say nothing. She didn't jump in. She didn't stop her. She didn't say anything. And then she walked out like everything was all good. But I guarantee you when they got in that house, she had something to say. Well, we know she had something to say. She did a whole album dissing Jay-Z. Wasn't that the Lemonade album? She was just dissing Jay-Z for the whole album. So she clearly has something to say, but she does it through her music. See, Beyonce doesn't get on social media and do a 20-minute live stream just talking shit. She does everything through her music, and other than that, she doesn't tell you anything about herself. That's a curated image. That's my point. Does Beyonce say shit off camera that you've never heard her say? Yes, she does. But she's very careful to make sure you don't see it or hear it. Now, other celebrities don't care. They go put it out on, they do an Instagram live and talk about their divorce. She would never do that. Beyonce, that's not her style. That's not her brand. Amber said, we won't get any of her angry with her husband. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we got was that album. That album was her venting about her husband. She maintains her brand very well. She's been at this a while, many years of training. Yeah, she is probably one of the best at brand maintenance of anybody that I've seen. Over the last 25 years, she's probably one of the best brand maintainers that we have all had. We've all seen. And I'm not even a big Beyonce fan. I like some of her songs, but not that big. Carla said, Dean Martin Simmons was a heavy drinker. He always had a drink in his hand. He didn't even drink. I didn't know that. I'm not old enough to remember Dean Martin, but that's a good point. Nico said, McGregor, what about him? Carla said, being seen in the library is not in Puffy's image. No, that wasn't what he was selling. What he was selling was go to the club, get alcohol and champagne, dance with the girls, be one of the nicest looking guys in the club. And when you dance, you're dancing to the music that we make. So it was a perfectly tailored image, because when you were in the club with the bottles, you were thinking about him because he's the one who influenced you to do it. And at the same time, you're dancing to his music. And then you go to the store and you buy the album that he put out. So it was perfectly set up. He did a great job of that. Kingdom Business, good morning to you. Thank you for the rose. Judged by One said, Grand Rising, good morning to you as well. All right, Carla, thanks for coming in. Let's see. Traditional said that's a problem with our culture. Well, that's one problem with our culture. The biggest problem with our culture is we don't have two-parent households. I don't know if that's what you were referring to. Traditional said, look at the price of Beyonce's tickets. Many of those fans cannot even pay their bills. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Depending on how you're selling and what you're selling, if you can get people emotional, then logically they don't think. So some people will spend their bill paying money to go to a concert because going to the concert feels good. Traditional said, I find that Mr. A.T., I can't say his name, you find that he's smart. I believe he's smart too. And that's why I said, I like his material. The stuff that I've heard him talk about, I like it. Now, a lot of people don't like that I like his material. And they'll say, well, how can you like him when and then they list all the negative things about him. Same thing they did with Trump. How can you like Trump when all these negative things, right? So that's the thing. Judge said, people you have physical access to. What do you mean? Mode said, Pitbull the musician has a great story. Now, I'm not a follower of him. I've heard of him, but I don't know anything about his background. Mode Constantine said, do I follow PBD, Patrick Bet David? I don't follow him. I watch a few of his. There's a few times where he's interviewed someone that I was interested in, and I listened to it because of the person he was interviewing. But as far as himself, Patrick Bet David, I don't find him to be extremely deep. I like listening to people who are going to give me something to think about. He seems pretty surface level, generally. Mr. Patrick Bet David. It's not a diss of him. He's generally surface level. I mean, he's an okay interviewer. He's not that great. So that's my answer. I have read his book, though. If someone puts out a book, I will read it. I did read one of his books, and it was pretty much what I just said. It was generally pretty surface level. There were a couple nuggets that I grabbed out of it, but overall, if I'm going to listen to somebody on a consistent basis, I want them to give me something that's like, I need meat and potatoes on a consistent basis. He's not quite that. Doesn't make him bad, but he's not quite that. Traditional All Day said the media tried to demean him because he's teaching men how to be strong men. Well, yeah, that's the same thing he says. Mode said, great stuff. Keep up the good work. I have to get to work. All right, shout out to you. Shout out to everybody going to work. Rhonda Gillis, 625, solid foundation. And shout out to everybody who's at work, who's listening to this. Traditional All Day said, you have to have self-discipline. That's right. Cap said the flat earther. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving. I think he came out later and said he was joking about that. But whether he was joking or not is irrelevant to the reason that I brought him up. Judged by One said nobody. Yes. The Traditional said not one. They showed that they are controlled. Yes, they did very much show that. And nobody was bringing that up. Nobody was bringing that up when that happened with Kyrie, that NBA players all were quiet. Nobody defended him. And Judged by One, yes, exactly. It was very elite control. And it put all of them on display. And Traditional said yeah, they did. I don't know if I can say that word, that they supported him. They absolutely did. They marched outside. I remember that. And the media didn't really cover that. They didn't talk about that. Judged by one said football did Kaepernick the same way. Somewhat. The issue with Kaepernick was, well, first of all, Kaepernick didn't violate a rule. He was in a position where he was a free agent, and then at the same time, right before he became a free agent, he started doing things that the owners, who are basically his employers, didn't like. So that was just a bad idea. If he wanted to play football, it was a bad idea. Now, if he was just trying to get his name out there and he didn't care, then it was a good idea. So we'll never know what was his real motivation there. If he was still trying to play football, he should not have done that. Now, if he was trying to end his career on purpose, then I guess he got what he wanted. Someone said, everyone is a gold digger, said, what are the J people? Can someone put in the comments what the J people are? Because everyone's a gold digger seems to not know what they are. I can't say that. I got to be very careful what names I say on here. So I can't say the J people. Can somebody tell him what the J people are? Judge said, the elite, put fear in these athletes. Well, yeah, they did, because they would lose their paychecks, and the only thing that makes an athlete somebody is that paycheck. Without the paycheck, they could be the best player in the world playing at LA Fitness. You're nobody. So it's not the basketball, it's the paycheck. Mama C said, sad, people look up to these athletes and celebrities and they are puppies. Yes, that is sad. Traditional says, that's why I do nothing for their community. Yep, most of them. Some of them do try, but it also doesn't make the news. So we gotta be fair with that. Judged by one said, nothing because he already protected himself with the Illuminati. Yeah. Brandon Jones said, the folks with the power are behind the scenes paying the folks with sub power. That's correct. People with real power, you don't really see them. They're not really out there posting on social media and making a lot of noise. They're quiet, but they're the ones writing the checks. Mama C said, people worse than vote for whoever they support publicly when they don't even have a say. Right. Sydney said, can I intern under you? Send me a DM. Maybe we can put you to work for some things. Judged by one said, because Trump is not under the elite control, so he has his own power to do what he wants to do. Yes, exactly. That's why they don't like him. That's the problem. The problem the establishment has with Trump is that he is not controlled because he didn't need their money. If he needed their money, they could have controlled him and he would never have won. And then when he leaves, that's the problem. When he leaves, who comes after him? That's the problem for the political right, because whoever comes after him, there's nobody like him who's independently wealthy enough that they don't need to follow the establishment rules on either side politically, the left or the right. There's no one on the left that's coming up that does not need the support of the establishment, and there's no one on the right who does not need the support of the establishment. They all need it. So the challenge, the concern for all of us as citizens should be, after Trump is gone, that we're going to go back to politics as usual. Unless his son or something runs. Other than that, we're going to go back to politics as usual, because we're going to get a lot of politicians who are controlled because they have to take money from somebody. That's the problem. Angelica 2008 said, good morning, Dre. Nice to see you are smart. Good. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Over on Instagram, I'm still reading TikTok comments. I'm going to get back to y'all in a second. OK Wire says, what happens if you don't come from a two-parent household? Then the one parent you got needs to do a really, really good job, and they need to supplement what's missing with a strong figure who can replace the either mother or the father that you don't have. Official Mark Triolia said Grant Cardone's going to run. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I want to hear what he has to say. And Grant Cardone, I like Grant Cardone. I've done some work with the people over at the Grant Cardone business, full disclosure. What I would say about Grant Cardone is he's not going to be on the same wave as Trump. He's not going to be as hard line as Trump, as I would say, if he was to actually get into the election. I like his stuff. I've gone to his conference more than once. I like his. I didn't go to this one. The one he's got a conference going on right now. I didn't go this year, but I like Grant Cardone's stuff. But he's not going to be as hard line as Trump. I think he is. I saw him at a conference once that was run by black guys, and Grant Cardone. Here's what I'll say about Grant Cardone. I think he sometimes panders a little bit to the black side. He panders a little bit to the black community. I think he likes the black community because black people like him and they buy his stuff. So I'm not mad at him for it. But I think every now and then he dips his toe in a little bit of pandering. Even during the Summer of Social Justice 2020, he made a donation. I don't remember how much money it was, but it was a donation to black causes. I don't remember exactly what it was he gave money to, but I remember him announcing it. Donald Trump would not do that. And also, when he was at that conference, it was a conference run by black guys, and he was invited as a speaker, and he made a very big point of pointing out how much he loves the black community. He had literally said that out of his mouth at the conference. I heard him saying it. And I'm like, he's trying too hard. I like Grant Cardone. So Grant Cardone's team sees this as no diss to y'all. We should still do business together. But if you're comparing him to Donald Trump, he's not there. He's not at the level that Trump is. Trump is completely unapologetic. And Cardone does a little bit of apologizing and a little bit of pandering, which I don't like. But 95% of what Grant Cardone puts out and talks about, I agree with. And his team as well. Shout out to Grant Cardone's team. Anyway, Angelica said that's the reason why the Democrats don't like him. He can't be bought and sold. Well, the Republicans do. Don't just mention the Democrats. None of them like him. No politicians like Donald Trump because they're all bought and sold and he's not. Traditional said Trump speaks his mind. Official Mark said as far as not being controlled. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying that as far as not being controlled, Cardone might be there. Maybe. The issue I would have, again, is what I just told you, is that being controlled is not necessarily about somebody writing you a check. It's not all about somebody writing you a check. Let me put it that way. It's also about where do you lean and why. That's the reason why I brought up those things with Grant Cardone, is that he does some pandering to the black community. So how is he going to come out and run as a Republican when he's done some pandering to the black community? Most black people vote Democrat. How's he going to handle that? He's going to have to figure that out. He's going to have to figure out how to navigate that. And that's the thing that I would want to hear. I want to see what he has to say. And at some point, he's going to start making compromises, and it would get messy. We'll see if he actually does it, because talking about running for office and actually doing it are two different things. So we'll see. To be determined, Mark. If they give you power, they can take you power. That's correct. They can take your power. That's correct. Judge by one said they have controlled wealth. Yeah, well, they have controlled riches. I wouldn't even call it wealth. Wealth is something that you can pass on generation to generation. It depends on what you do with your riches to determine whether you end up with wealth. So they have riches because if you make a lot of money at your job, you can be rich, financially speaking. Wealth is dependent on your actions with the money. Arlene said they gave you power. Oh, I said that one. Dr. Black says I got to be careful saying these 3-letter organizations. Yeah, I got to be careful with that comment. I see what you're saying, but I can't read that out loud. All right. Lily Antoinette says, to me, that's what I think when I hear the phrase selling your soul. Yes, that's what it means. That's exactly what it is. But the only people who get accused of selling their soul are people when someone disagrees with them. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of athletes, entertainers, celebrities, and politicians have sold their soul for the check, and then all they do is show you all the stuff they got with the money. So it appears that this is what you should aim to be. And then when you get on the inside, you realize you got to do the same thing that they did. This is why you see people who are very talented, especially you see this in the entertainment space a lot. People who are very talented. How many of you ever followed like a really talented actor or actress or musician, like a rapper, a singer, and they were really good? And you're like, they're better than a lot of people who are famous. And then that person never becomes famous. One of the reasons that person never becomes famous is because they didn't want to do what they had to do to get that check. To get the check, you got to do ABC. I want to do ABC. Okay, you don't get the check. So you and your talent never really blow up. That happens all the time in the entertainment space. It doesn't happen as often in sports, because in sports, the best players usually end up at the top. But in entertainment, it happens all the time, because someone who's not even that talented can end up at the top and famous, even though they're not that good. Let me look at Cardi B. Is she talented? No, she's not talented, but she's very famous. And she, from all accounts, she's very well paid. Why? Because she went along with the program. She's not there because of her talent. Is there a female rapper out there with more talent than Cardi B? I'm sure there are 1,000 of them, but none of them is as famous as her, because what she does and how she presents herself is exactly what the people who write the checks want to be in the industry, and that's why she is who she is. So a lot compromise their value. Well, yes, a lot of them compromise their value, Arlene. A lot of them don't have any values, so there's nothing to compromise. There was a story. Any of you ever seen a video called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick? Any of you ever seen that? You can find it on YouTube. It's probably like 2 hours or something like that. And it's all about the JFK situation. And they have a version. Everybody has a version of the JFK story. In there, they talk about how there were some people who were looking for a politician that they could groom and have as the front man, who they could groom up and have this person kind of do what they wanted them to do. But they didn't want to be it. They wanted a front man so that they could stay behind the scenes. And they put out an advertisement, and they said, we're looking for a person. And the way they put the ad, I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was worded really crazy. It says something like, basically looking for someone who was willing to do anything for money and was willing to compromise their values and didn't really have any principles and would pretty much do anything they were told to do in exchange for wealth, power, and status. And they put the ad up in such a way that they're like, No one who is in their right mind is actually going to respond to this ad and say that they want this because the way they worded it. And they worded it that way strategically because they say anybody who will respond to this, we can manipulate them to no end because they're going to do everything that we tell them to do, even if we tell them to do something crazy. And y'all know who responded to the ad? I'm going to let y'all think about that because somebody did respond and y'all know this person's name. Any of y'all who saw the documentary knows who I'm talking about. I'm going to tell you in a second. Let me get through the comments, and I'm going to come back to that. So remind me if I'll forget to come back to that to answer the question. But I want y'all to answer the question, who you think responded to it. This is in like the 60s and the 70s. Who was the person? It might have been the 60s. Any of you know the answer? Y'all know. Shannon Durham, good morning to you. Let's see. Dr. Blacksock said, I hate to believe it. Where was I? I lost my spot. I hate to say it, but I truly believe they will off Trump. Well, they tried. Yes, they tried, and they might still do it. Michelle, good morning. Said, I just love listening to this brother. Well, thank you. Judged by One said, when celebrities get out of line, they put them back in line. That's very true. Traditional said, some of them grieve these celebrities when they unalive more than they do their own family members. Yes, which is crazy. And you're very right about that. I remember when the rapper Nipsey Hussle passed away. I like Nipsey Hussle. I like his music. And was listening to his album a lot right before he passed away. But he wasn't that famous. And then when he passed away, they had a ceremony for him inside the same building where the Lakers play. And allegedly it was sold out that day for the ceremony for Nipsey Hussle. I'm like, this is the same building that they used when Kobe Bryant passed away. There's no way that it's equal. How the hell does he draw the same number of people as Kobe Bryant? He wasn't that known. But because people look up to these celebrities, and it was very popular to be like, oh, I got to do something for Nipsey Hussle. I like Nipsey Hussle, not that much. I don't live in LA. Even if I did, I wouldn't have take time out of my day to go to that. Maybe I'll listen to a couple of his songs or something, but no, nothing else. Penn said, I remember you used to drop straight ball. Now it's mad respect. We appreciate you. Chesseek81 said, my first time joining you here in Ohio. I feel like I can find truth here. You are right. You are right about that, Chesseek. Glad you found me the first time. Clint said, Beyonce is a character. Yes, she is. A very well manicured character. Yeah, so the person who was asking what's the J people, the answer is in there. Courtney and Judged by One answered the question. To Amber and Beyonce, thoughts on probable segregation. What are you referring to? What are you talking about? What probable segregation? I need context. Mike Luter said, all they need is Trump and Elon's money and they're good. LOL. Yeah, exactly. You got Trump and Elon's money, you can do whatever you want to do. That's the reason why they can fight the system the way they are. And all of you should understand, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, if people with Trump and Elon's resources had not come along into politics, none of the stuff that you're seeing happening would be happening right now. I don't know if you consider that good or bad. I consider it good because it's exposing the government. That's what I consider it good because it's exposing them. I don't care what side you're on politically. The government is very inefficient and they've been misusing our money, and we're $36 trillion in debt, despite the fact they never forget to charge us taxes, and they're $36 trillion in debt. Just on that alone, citizens should be demanding accountability, and Elon is bringing some accountability, and they're trying to stop him from doing it. I believe that's a good thing regardless of where you stand politically. Ryan said, you're a great example for your community. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you. Lorraine, thanks for following. Marky said, do you think she is the most beautiful woman in the world like they say? Who, Beyonce? No, I don't think that. I think the most beautiful woman in the world is a person who you don't even know. The most beautiful woman and man in the world is not a famous person. The most beautiful man and woman in the world is some everyday person. They may be somewhat famous. Maybe they got an Instagram or something, but they probably got like 30,000 followers somewhere. They're not super famous, and they might even not even have a job being beautiful. They might do something else. So no, I do not think Beyonce is the most beautiful woman in the world. I think she is pretty. And I do think she looks good, but do I think she's the most beautiful? No, far from it. There are women walking around South Beach working at damn Starbucks who are more beautiful than Beyonce. So anyway. Yeah, Judged by One said singers. Yeah, I know. Yes, you're correct. Judged by One, you got it. You're on the right track. 100%. Dan said, I think sports are manipulated like paid actors. I don't know. They can't be that manipulated because the ball still has to go in the basket. That's the thing with sports. The ball still has to go in the basket. So my question was about who do y'all think was the person who accepted that crazy offer that said you have to have no morals, no principles whatsoever, and you get fronted and you get to be the person, you'll do anything for money and power? Traditional all day got the answer right. It was Nixon. It was Richard Nixon. Buzzle, no, it wasn't FDR. FDR was out in like the 20s, 30s. Live free, yes, that's what I'm saying. The movie is called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Y'all can find it on YouTube. It's on YouTube right now. KD, Texas conservative, said I came in late to this convo. Yes, you did. The answer was Richard Nixon was the guy. And y'all know what ended up happening to Richard Nixon, right? Richard Nixon was an example of a controlled politician. Everything he was doing was something that he was being told to do. And all the things, if you read any stories or heard anything about Nixon and his, what's the words? Just his, what's the word that I would use to describe him? Just some idiosyncrasies about him. It starts to make sense when you understand how they found him in the first place. He came out of nowhere. Katie said, what's your profession? I run a company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. Katie, what we do here is we help professional entrepreneurs strategize, systematize, and scale up their businesses. So 3 pillars of what we do here is strategy, systems, and accountability. So we help entrepreneurs build their businesses up. To Amber said, the Trump executive order on segregation ban. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, I did see that executive order that he put out, and there people were talking about the Jackie Robinson thing and all that. The thing is, who's actually going to go segregate now that he removed the segregation ban? The executive order wasn't necessarily, I don't believe, my theory, not necessarily about, hey, Trump said, hey, how do we make sure we can segregate again? Let's do this executive order. I don't think that's the reason why he did it. I think the real reason behind it, the energy behind it, because Trump has made it clear from the beginning, he's not with diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. So he did the executive order to knock out some more DEI policies, and in the process, that segregation ban also got knocked out. I think that was collateral damage, and then people picked up on that part and then sensationalized it to make it seem like that's what he's doing, which is what they've been doing with Trump for the last 10 years. So that's what I would say about that. Everything Trump does, they try to find the worst part of it, and they sensationalize that to get people all excited and say, oh my God, Trump's about to do this, this, this. All the things they told you he was going to do. They told you 100 things Trump was going to do. Out of that 100, 95 of them never happened. So I will put this in that same category. Are we all of a sudden going to have water fountains for white people and water fountains for black people just because of that executive order? The answer is no, we're not. And again, people who don't like Trump like to get all excited about this, but is that actually going to happen? No. So again, who's going to do the segregating? The only segregating I see these days is black people creating spaces that white people ain't allowed in. I don't see any white people having spaces that black people ain't allowed in. Not that I see, at least not explicitly stated. I see spaces that black people have, they say is black only. Did y'all see that story a couple weeks ago where it was a video game tournament, and this girl tried to get in the tournament, and they said, no, you can't get in the tournament because you're white. And she said, no, I'm not white, I'm mixed. My dad is black, my mom is white. And then they said, well, you present as white. That's what they said. They said you present as white, i.e. you look white, therefore you can't get in the tournament even though you're half black. That's gatekeeping blackness. I only see black people doing that. I don't see white people doing that. Again, explicitly. Now, could it happen implicitly? Sure. But is it happening explicitly? And I don't see white people doing that to black people. I see black people doing it to everybody else. So that's my answer to your question. Hopefully that helps you understand. Nurse Kim, 1212, good morning. Big D said, I think you would make one of the greatest leaders of all time. I wish you were political. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I am political in the lowercase politics definition, meaning doing things to protect or advance your own interests. But you mean governmental politics? Well, one reason I wouldn't get in governmental politics is exactly what I've explained to you all here today. Because I don't have Donald Trump's money. I'm not a billionaire. So I would need some money. Somebody would have to give me some money for me to win an election. And if I take somebody's money, that means they get to tell me what to do. And I don't like being told what to do. That's the reason I'm an entrepreneur. So being a politician would fundamentally go against my personal desires. My personal desire is to be as independent as possible so I can say whatever I want and do what I want. If I get into politics, I can't do whatever I want to do because someone will be funding me and I got to follow them. And if I get into politics, there are going to be people with more status than me and less status than me, which means I got to listen to the people with more power than me if I want to stay in the game. And I don't like being in a position where somebody can tell me what to do. So I don't like having bosses. I don't like being told what to do, and I don't like having restrictions on my actions. All of those things will come into play if I became a politician. So that's why I'm not in politics. User says, not whether he's doing a good job. Congress, according to Article 1 of the Constitution. I don't know what you mean there, user. Nurse Kim said, am I interested in going into politics? For reasons just explained. Probably not. I think if enough people wanted to hear logic and objective thought, like what I'm explaining here in these live streams, then yes. But all of you need to understand, I say this almost every day, this is a very small percentage of the population who's listening to me and appreciating this. Most people don't want to hear these kind of things. Tequita Coleman said, "Well, listening to you. Thank you." Judged by one. Yes, that was Richard Nixon. Michelle said, "Do I think JFK was controlled?" I don't know enough about his background. I know there's a ton of books on him. I have not read the books on JFK. I did see that documentary, though. Do I think he was controlled? I think to a certain point, almost all politicians in the last 60 years have been controlled in some way, save for Donald Trump. And the reason why for Trump is what I just explained. He had his own money, so he didn't have to take anybody's money. All the other politicians you can name, especially presidents, they had to take somebody's money in order to be in a position to win. So they had to follow they had to listen to something that somebody said. None of them had enough power on their own to not listen to people who had the money. So all of them are controlled on some level. Every single one of them. Yes, he was. Judged by one. He was picked in place. Yes, he was. It's in the documentary. Watch that documentary. It's called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. You'll find it on YouTube. It's free. It's like 2 hours long. Amber said, "I agree with that, though." Okay, fair enough. You're all for segregation? What kind of segregation are you for? Live Free and Amber, what kind of segregation are you talking about? You talking about black segregation? Like black people saying this is a black-only space? Is that what you're referring to? Judged by one said, they are just fear-mongering people to start a civil war because they cannot control. Yes, that's what the media does, and a lot of Democrat politicians are taking anything he does and then making it seem like it's crazy. Coco says C-suite positions, LOL. Yes, exactly. A C-suite position, you usually got a boss. I just don't like having bosses. Chesik81, I go live Monday through Friday starting at 8 a.m. Eastern. So today is Friday, so I'll be back live again on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Amber said, "I would love to go days without seeing a white person." All right, good luck. Amber, if you don't want to see a white person, you probably shouldn't use the internet. All right, that's number one. You start there. Number two, move to a neighborhood that's all black people and then just don't use your phone. You won't see any white people. You could probably pull it off. Now, the issue is you have to work at a black-owned business that only has black people that work there. So you could make this happen, Amber, but you can't do it through the internet. You get on the internet, you're going to see white people. Right? Internet is, all these apps are owned by people who ain't black. So I don't know how you're getting on the internet saying that. Good idea. I'm not even going to say it's a good idea. I understand your vision. Let's put it that way. I don't have a problem with white people. I like white people and black people and Asian people and Latin people and every other group of people. I'm in business. I'm an entrepreneur, so I'm not in the only color that I care about. I care about two colors: green and gold. All right, green is money, and gold is what you get when you win. So those are two colors I care about. I don't care if that green comes from a white person, cool. Comes from a black person, cool. Comes from a Asian person of another color, cool. I'm in the green and gold business, not the black and white business. Live Free said black only. We need economic segregation. Well, the problem with that, Live Free, is that the economic segregation would require us spending money on the same things that we buy from people who are not black. Somebody black would have to provide it. Where are those things? We don't have them. Where's the black-owned social media at? Where's the black-owned version of TikTok? Where's the black Instagram? Where's the black YouTube? They don't exist. So what would you do? That's the issue. Your groceries. Where's the black grocery store? I don't know if there's one here in Miami. If it is, I don't know about it. And do they have all the things that Whole Foods has? Because if they don't, and is it the same quality or better than what Whole Foods has? Because if it's not, then I'm not going there. I'm not of the idea that I should spend money at a black-owned business just because a black person owns it. I'm of the idea that if a black person has a business and you have quality stuff, I will buy from you. But if your stuff is not as good as the stuff at let's say the white-owned business, I'm spending my money at the white-owned business because I'm spending my money for a quality product. So I'm not buying a lesser product just because a black person is selling it. I don't play that game. And I wouldn't want anyone to buy something from me just because I'm black. Buy it from me because I'm good. Because I'm the best option you got. Don't buy it from me because I'm black. I'm not a fan of that way of thinking. I understand some black people think that way, but I don't. And economic segregation sounds like a good idea because I'm pretty sure you understand that black people do spend a lot of money. In the marketplace, we spend a ton of money. The issue is our money doesn't stay in our community, Live Free. I'm pretty sure you probably know that as well. The black dollar does not stay in the community, whereas the white dollar, the Asian dollar, the Latin dollar, their money stays in their community longer than ours does. For those who don't know what that means, when like Asian money stays in their community longer than everybody. So Asian people get $1 and they spend money on Asian businesses and then they just spend money with each other. So all their money just stays in their community. White people, same thing. Latin people, same thing, to lesser degrees. Black people, as soon as we get money, it leaves our community. We go spend our money on stuff that an Asian person or Latin person or a white person sells. So the money leaves our community. And so we got all this spending power. But we spend all our money on everybody else. So Live Free, I'm assuming what you're referring to here is that if black people just spent money with each other, we can keep money in our community, and we have a lot of it. I agree with the idea. The problem is, where do we buy stuff? That's the issue. In the Asian community, they have places to buy stuff. You could buy you could be Asian and just live in the Asian neighborhood and just buy everything you need from other Asian people. You can't do that in the black community because we don't have the people selling enough stuff for me to get what I need. If I go to Whole Foods, the stuff I buy at Whole Foods, there ain't no black grocery store selling that stuff. So how do I get it? Do I just not have it? Or do I buy lesser stuff? Or do I drive 2 hours out of my way? I'm not going to keep doing that forever. So someone has to solve that problem. Now, I get your direction, but how do we solve that problem? Christina Maldonado said, I like you. Thank you. I like you too. Amber said, do you know how much buying power black people have, though? Yes, that's what I just acknowledged that. Black people have a ton of buying power. The thing is, who's selling? That's the issue, Amber. It's not the buying, it's the selling. Black people spend a ton of money on a lot of stuff, but who are we going to buy it from? So if you want, again, social media, is there a black-owned TikTok? Is there a black-owned Instagram? Is there a black YouTube? Is there a black Facebook? Where are they? If they are, where are they? And can you show me that the owner is a black person? And if it can do the same things that these do and can give me the same reach, then I'll take a look at it. I'm interested. But also, let me also re-emphasize to you. Let me be very clear. I am not in the black and white business. I'm in the green and gold business. Because if a white person wants to buy one of my books, I'm selling them the book. If a black person wants to buy my book, I'm selling them the book. I don't care what color you are. If you want some gain and you want to learn and you can benefit from what I'm offering, I don't care your color. I am in the business. I'm in the business of business. I'm not in the business of color. Now, if any of you is, that's cool. I'm not knocking you if that's what you want to do. But I'm just letting you know what business I'm in. I'm a former athlete. And in the athletic world, when you win, you get a gold medal, right? General, you get a gold medal. So that's the gold business. That's the one color I care about. And in the business world, when you sell something, you get money. And money, let's just say money is green. So I'm in the gold and the green business. That's it. Not the black and white business. Amber, number 3 gifter badge. Congrats. Amber said, I think that's why black products don't win. If it's good, then I buy a black product. For example, all right, you see how I'm shaved right here, right? I shave every day. I shave my face, shave my head every day. I'm not naturally bald. If I stopped shaving, I would have hair on my head. I just like shaving. So I started shaving my head because I don't like going to the barbershop. Because going to the barbershop takes time and you got to drive there and then you got to sit and wait. If somebody's in the chair before you, even if you had an appointment, and then they got to do it and then you got to drive back and it was taking too much time. So I said, let me just shave my head, forget it. And I know you could call a barber to come to your house, but that still takes time. So I didn't want to do that. So that's why I started shaving. I brought that up to say this. There's a company called Bevel, Bevel. They're a black-owned company that sells shaving products made specifically for black hair, because black hair is different than white hair. It's more coarse. It naps up more easily. So they sell shaving products specifically made for black people. And I tried them out like 10 years ago, and I like their product, and I still buy their stuff to this very day. I'm still a Bevel customer to this very day. So I don't buy Gillette or Dollar Shave Club or whoever else are the white-owned companies. I buy from Bevel, the black-owned company. But let me explain, why do I buy from the black-owned company? Because it's the best product. You understand? I don't buy from them because they're black. I buy from them because they're the best product, and they happen to be black. That's a key point. So if you're black and you got a product that is the best product, I will buy it. All right, let me know what you got. Now, if the best product happens to be a white person's business, I'm buying from the white person. I'm in the business of green and gold, ladies and gentlemen, not black and white. User said, thank you. That's the way it should be. It stays in the black community for 13 seconds. Amber, I've heard that. I've heard 18 minutes, but yours might be more accurate. Might be 13 seconds. I get what you're saying, Amber. I agree with you. The issue is we need more sellers. We need more black sales people and more black businesses to buy stuff from. I will keep my money in the black community. If it's a black person selling what I want, I'm good. Show me what you got. Send me your link. I'll buy it. We're free. That's what's wrong with black people who has resources. Kathy said, because they don't allow us to get the loans to build the stores. Kathy, I'm not going to go deeply into this one. Maybe I'll do a whole live on this. Should I do a whole live on this topic? Keeping the black dollar in the black community? Maybe I'll do a whole live on this topic. Maybe. I got to think about it if I have enough to say on it. But I'm going to write it down as a possibility. The thing is, the loans to build the stores, fair enough. Okay, I'm going to say fair enough, because if you're going to build a store, you probably do need some outside money. The issue with that is that we have to build up the resources internally, and we also need the salespeople. We need the entrepreneurs, the people with an entrepreneurial mind who actually want to do it, and we need enough people willing to do it, because there's enough money in the black community already, Kathy, that you don't need loans from them to get the money. You can get the money from black people, because as Amber and Beyond already said, there's plenty of money in the black community. So if you're black and you need money to build a business, let's say you need money to build your business, there's enough money in the black community, you can get it from the black community. The issue is we are not organized enough to where black people can go to other black people and get the money. Let me give you an example. I used to date this Asian girl years ago. This is like 15-ish years ago. This Asian girl I used to date. She told me, and she was an immigrant. All right, she had come here. No, she was born here. No, was she born here? Actually, I don't think she was born here. But anyway, she was an immigrant, right? Her family were immigrants, but they lived in the United States of America. She explained to me this is how it works with the Asians when they come to America. And they came to like Boston or something like that. They just randomly landed in Boston, right? So an Asian person comes to Boston, and the other Asians who already live in Boston, they find out that another Asian person moved in. This person showed up with nothing, like off the boat, nothing. They ain't got nothing. All the Asians who live in the community, let's say it's 20 of them, they all put their money together, give the new Asian who just came into the community some money to get on their feet. Go get yourself a place to live, go get some food for your kids, and go get yourself a job. Then that person goes and gets a place to live, they get some food for their kids, they get a job. Then when they start making money back, they go pay back everybody who helped them out. Then when the next Asian comes in off the boat, they contribute to the next Asian. Now it's 21 Asians all giving money to the new Asian, and they all just keep doing that over and over and over again, and they build up their community. Where does that happen in the black community? Does that happen? Maybe it does. I don't know about it. Does that happen in the black community? And it's the same thing that happens if someone wants to start a business. If an Asian wants to start a business in America, let's say they live in Nebraska, and there's some Asians in Nebraska. They go to all the other Asians in the community and say, I want to start a business. I'm going to do this. All the Asians put their money together and give them the money. They start the business. The Asians support that business. Then when they start making money, the person who started the business, they pay back everybody who paid them. And then when the next Asian wants to start a business, they do the same thing over and over again because they have a sense of community. The issue in the black community, I believe one of the issues in the black community is that it is, people talking about segregation, we are segregated inside the community. That's the issue. And there's a whole other conversation you can have about that. Well, that came because we got separated from our homeland and because of slavery. And those are not illegitimate arguments. The point is that's the situation. I don't have a solution to that, and I damn sure can't give it to you right now. But these things that some of you are saying, they are legit points. Okay, so I'm not telling you that you're wrong. They're legit points that some of you are making. The issue is it can be bigger than that depending on the sense of community that we have on the inside. And this is something I talk about all the time, is that on the inside, other communities do things differently. And again, this Asian person told me this is exactly what they do. Person comes in fresh off the boat. They get a bunch of money from people already there, and they just pay them back later. I ain't never seen a black person do that. And there's a whole lot of jokes we can make behind that. But y'all know what I mean. Black people, y'all know exactly what I mean. So let's see. And black people can get loans, Kathy. I get the direction of your point. They can get loans. Is it a little bit harder? Possibly. It probably. It's easier to get a loan from someone who looks like you than it is to get from someone who doesn't. I would generally agree with that point. This is human nature. What I would say is the money's already in the community. We just need to organize the money. Live Free said, I understand what you're saying about business. I agree. Oh, good. I'm glad you agree. DNG Capital said, not true. If you have good credit, banks will loan you money. Former lender here. DNG Capital, let me push back on what you're saying. In principle, what you're saying is correct. Yes, it is correct. If you have good credit, banks will give you money. Yes, I understand that. At the same time, I believe just by human nature that if you are in control, if you're a loan officer at a bank, just by human nature, I'm not saying by anything on the numbers, anything on your spreadsheet, you are more likely to give a loan to a person that's borderline if they look like you than if they don't look like you. I think that's just human nature. DNG, would you agree with that? If you get to make a judgment call, who are you more likely? Again, just by nature, by your, as they call it, unconscious bias. And I'm not even saying as a negative thing. If I'm a black person working at a loan place and there's two people come in borderline, one of them white, one of them black, I'm more likely to help the black person out just because I want to help out a black person than I'm going to help out the white person. Or if I have something in common with them. So let's say a black person comes in and they are in the tech space, I have nothing to do with the tech space, I might tell them no. A white guy comes in and he used to play college basketball and I used to play college basketball. Because we have that rapport on basketball, I might say yes to him even though they got the exact same profile. So sometimes the rapport can be based on color, but it can be based on something else too. That's just human nature. So DNG, that's my pushback to what you're saying, even though you are logically accurate. Michelle said, what's the name? It's called Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Is that the documentary you're asking about? Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. It's on YouTube. Again, it's about 2 hours long. Butterfly said that would be a great topic. I might talk about it. I got to think about if I have enough to say about it to make it worth the time. Live Free said that's the problem with black people. Well, we just need more organization. That's the issue. We just need someone to organize. I think the issue with organization is that we can't get it from a politician because politicians have ulterior motives. They have to because they take other people's money. So the organization has to come internally from someone who doesn't have strings connected to them. It can't be a Barack Obama. It can't be Kamala Harris. It can't be none of these Al Sharpton. None of these people. No, it has to be someone who's independently able to do what they do, and they can say whatever they want and do things as they wish. Not no damn politician. Judge said, we do not have to trust in each other to build brown businesses. That's the point. What Judge by One said, this is the point, is that in other communities, they trust each other without even knowing you. Like you could be fresh off the boat Asian, and all the Asians in that community, just because you're Asian, every one of them will grab $1,000 and give you $1,000. So now you got 20 people gave you $1,000 each. Now you got $20,000 from a bunch of people who you don't even know. They just gave it to you because you're Asian and they're Asian. In the black community, has that ever occurred? I haven't heard that occur in the black community ever. That's what they do in other communities. I'm just using Asians as an example because I knew an Asian and she told me that's exactly what her family did. They came to America with nothing, and all the Asians in the community gave them money, and that's how they got started. And that's not the government. Michelle said it doesn't happen. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Andrew said there should be a book about this specifically. I believe there is. There's a guy named Dr. Claude Anderson. Any of you heard of Claude Anderson? Put in the comments any of you heard of Claude. He has some books on these things. I don't know if he talks about this specifically, but given the kind of things that I see him talking about, I believe he's talked about this. I don't think I'm the first one to ever think about it. I know I'm not the first one to ever think about it. But there's a guy named Dr. Claude Anderson. He's a black guy. He's still alive to this day, but he's older. He's probably in his 80s or 90s. But he talks about, I think one of his books is called Powernomics, but he's got a bunch of books. He's probably got like 30 books. Any of you heard of Claude Anderson, put it in the comments and give some people some titles of his books, if any of you know about him. I know some black folks in here, so some of you should know about him. Amber said lack of cohesion. Yes, exactly. China, good morning to you. Jennifer said it doesn't happen in any community in America. We can learn from them. Yes, well, it happens in the smaller groups that don't make a lot of noise. That's the thing. In the smaller groups that don't make a lot of noise, they do this. I guarantee you in the J community this happens. I guarantee you in the J community, they do this. They help each other out, and then you just pay me back. I'm going to help you out because you just got here. You ain't got nothing. I'm going to help you out, and then 5 years from now when you got something, now just pay me back. Guarantee you they do that. I haven't heard a J person tell me this specifically, but I know a bunch of them. So next time I talk to one of them, I might ask them this question and see what happens. Live Free say, you never get a sense of community without a homeland. I'm not sure I agree with that, Live Free. Because, again, I just told you, Asians doing it here. This ain't their land. They just came here. And same thing with us. This is not our homeland. I get what you mean, but we can do it here. Why not? A sense of community is about the people. It's not about the land itself. Andrew, good morning to you. Kathy said, it's way hard to get along for us. Generally, I agree with that. Kathy, I think it is harder, as I already said to D&G. I don't know if D&G is still in here. And statistically, we can just look at the numbers. Black people do not get loans at the same rate, even if the numbers are the same. And people have a lot of arguments about that. My point in responding to that is we need the organization to do it internally so we don't have to go to the outside to get the money. Because other communities don't always do it. You know, you can see something like you watch The Sopranos and stuff, like the mafia and the mob. If somebody needs some money, they go to each other. They don't go to the bank. They go to each other. Y'all see The Sopranos? You watch The Sopranos. What would happen when somebody was incarcerated and they came home from jail? They would have a party for the guy who came home. And what would everybody do? All the people in the mob, what would they do? They come over, hug you, shake your hand. They'll hand you an envelope with a bunch of money in it. And that's not a loan. That's a gift. I'm giving you the money as a sign of respect. You're one of us. You're coming back. We want to put you on your feet. I'm going to just give you this money as a sign of respect so that you can get back on your feet so we can keep the community strong. They did this in the mob. These guys are career criminals. All they do is break the law. But they still had some principles that they were standing on. Where do they do that in the black community? That's my question. Live Free says, I was in Africa for 2 months. It's an amazing community. I would bet. I've never been there. Shout out to Africa. Dan Buck said, I disagree with that because they have laws. They will get sued. You talking about the loans? Yeah, that sounds good, Dan. Sounds good. And I think if you're talking about the loans, yes, in theory, you are correct. But in practice, it doesn't happen that way. Michelle said, Louis Farrakhan tried to get us to keep the money in our community. And yeah, you're probably right. Farrakhan was talking about these kind of things. What I would say about Farrakhan is, and this is the issue, this is another issue in the black community, is that Farrakhan has expressed some very strong opinions on certain things that some people just don't agree with, even black folks. And as soon as you do that, now you divide your audience, and now you can't get everybody to follow what you're trying to say. So we need someone who's independently wealthy, and generally, just to keep it real, we need someone who doesn't really share political opinions. That's what we need, because everybody doesn't have the same political opinions. As soon as you start sharing your political opinions, a bunch of people are not going to agree with you, and therefore they're not going to listen to anything you have to say about anything else. That's just how people are. That's just human nature. So whoever it would be that could kind of get all the black people in the same place, it can't be about politics. Don't even talk about the Democrats or Republicans. Don't tell people who to vote for. Don't even mention it. Just say what you got to say about the business piece, and don't even bring anything else up. And that should actually be on the wall. Look, this is not about politics. Don't mention it. Don't say anything. Don't make any jokes. Just talk about the business. For example, there's a speaking gig I'm going to do later on this year. And they said to me when we were having a conversation about me giving a keynote speech, they said, Dre, one thing we require, and we ask and require, they actually put it in the contract. Do not make any jokes about politics and don't make any jokes about religion. That's in the contract. I never had anybody do that before because they probably had people do it. And they're like, don't do that, because their organization, people are on different sides, because the conference is not about politics or religion. It's about business. So they said, don't make any jokes about politics or religion, because we don't want anybody, they don't want to divide their audience. And that's what had to happen. And Farrakhan, unfortunately, has positioned himself on certain sides on certain subjects, and that invalidates him in the eyes of many people. So they won't listen to what he has to say, even if what he's saying is good. Butterfly said, you're correct, we don't pull together. Yes, that's my point. Judged by One said, Mexicans do it. Yes, they do. That's it. And it's the mental division. It's not any other kind of division. It's the mental division amongst black folks. And I'm not saying I have a solution to this problem. And Kathy said, sadly, we have built communities. They destroyed them or flooded lakes over them. Yes, that is also true. That's also true. Live Free said, most definitely in the J community. Yeah, we know they do it in the J community. Live Free said, Dre, they have a base they can go back to, a homeland we go back to. We are lost. You can build a base anywhere. Live Free, I'm going to push back on that. You can build a base anywhere. Again, I just told you, Asian people do it. This is not their land. They do it here in America. How they got stores in black communities? Why is there an Asian store in every black neighborhood? Where I came from, it was an Asian store that way. It was another one that way. And there's another one over there. There's another one over there. How they got a store in our community? I ain't never see a black-owned store. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I saw a few. But there was always an Asian one. Just said, we are the only culture that do not stick together on no levels. Yes, this is true. Yeah, you got to keep politics out of it. Andrew said, Indian, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. So let me wrap this up, everybody. I usually stop these by 10 o'clock. Daryl Muhammad, he mentioned Farrakhan over there. I see you over there on IG. Said NOI gave us an economic blueprint back in the 70s. Yeah, well, I wasn't around then. I don't know what their blueprint was. It was probably a good blueprint. I think any smart person can come up with a blueprint for a community. The issue is, how do you get everyone behind the idea? That's the issue. The issue is not coming up with the idea. The issue is getting everybody behind the idea. And that requires a sense of community, and it requires everyone to unify around a certain leader or a certain group. That's what we're missing. That's why the community isn't there. But all that said, folks, I do these lives Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. And I usually go no more than, at the most, 2 hours. Today I went a little bit long because I started late. So I actually didn't go 2 hours today. I started about 8:25 because of a sick child last night. But I will be back 8 a.m. Monday. If you want to learn more about working with me, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is in my profile. Make sure if you're watching me on TikTok, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and my Instagram profile. Both links are in my profile because I am one strike away from getting banned from TikTok, by the way. I haven't gotten banned all week. I've been good all week, but I'm one strike away from getting banned. So make sure y'all follow me on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube right now. The replay to this live will be on YouTube later on today. Also on Instagram. and I really need to go to the bathroom after sitting here for 2 hours. So everybody have a great Friday and a great weekend. Again, you can send a DM. My assistant watches my DM, so she will respond to you if you send a DM if I can help you with anything. Everybody have a great Friday. Work on your game. We are out of here.